Hi guys, welcome back. Here's the Bitburger, and this video we are going to install Debian with encrypted LVM. But before we can start, we want to talk a little bit about partitioning and our partitioning scheme, what we will implement during installation. So what do we have here? We have volume groups, logical volume, the memory size, we have the logical volume manager activated or not activated, we have a format, we have a physical volume, and is it encrypted or not. So a volume group, we have the Bitburger volume group. In this case, you can have several volume groups. Well, I decide to have only one because I don't need more. And the logical volumes, we have root, home, var, temp, and swap. A rule of thumb is for using swap, you take your RAM size and you add 20 to 30%, and that's how big your swap partition should be. 2 GB is pretty much common use for temp, as well as 10 GB for var. And in home, I added all the gigabytes I had left. So I said, okay, 25 I need for root, 2 I need for boot, and then I have 51 gigs left on my 100 GB hard drive for home. That's a physical representation here. There you can see a bit in a visual sense how big these different partitions are, or logical volumes are, in a typical case. And the logical volume manager, it will be not used for boot, but it will be used for the Bitburger volume group. And the file format on boot is x2, which is a more stable and older version of a file format. And you probably could use x4, but I used x2 because many guys in the Linux community use x2 for boot, so I decided, well, they know what they're doing, I'll do it the same way. And the physical volumes will probably update this during the installation. We'll see. Alright, and then encrypted boot. That's a very important step. So boot is not allowed to be encrypted, and the rest should be definitely encrypted. Yes, especially the swap partition. In many cases it's emphasized to really encrypt swap as well. So we want to encrypt everything except boot. You cannot encrypt boot because then you couldn't boot. Of course, during boot you have to put in your decryption key so your memory gets decrypted and you can start your OS and all that nice stuff and start using your computer actually, so boot cannot be encrypted. Now we can move on with the interesting stuff. So we pick install. You could also pick graphical install, but I find this one less distracting. Pick English. All right, let's pick a host name. The host name is a single word that identifies your system through the network. Now we have to pick a domain name. And it says it's the part of your internet address to the right of your host name. It is often something that ends in .com, .net, blah blah blah. If you're setting up a home network, you can make something up, but make sure you use the same domain on all your computers. Let's say YouTube for us. Pick a root password. Set up users and passwords. A user account will be created for you to use instead of the root account for non-administrative activities. So pick a full name of the user, the username for your account, and again a password. Alright, so now let's get ahead with partitioning. We have 4 options. So we have guided, use entire disk, guided, use entire disk and set up the logical volume manager, LVM, guided, use entire disk and set up encrypted LVM, and manual. And we pick manual, so we have full control. So here we have our hard drive. Create a new empty partition table on this device. Yes, please. So now it's free space. and we create a new partition, which is our boot partition. And we say 2 gigabytes. And we make this one primary and beginning because it's our boot partition. And we said we take x2 file system, and it's boot. The mount point is boot. We turn on the bootable flag. I've read it's probably not necessary as Grub is still able to boot, but it doesn't do any bad, so we turn it to on. We're done. Now we take the rest of our hard drive and we create a new partition and we make this one logical. And here we now say physical volume for encryption. Encryption method, we pick the device mapper. As encryption, we want to use AES, the Advanced Encryption Standard, with a key size of 256 bits, which is the highest security we can select on this one. And we take plain 64 in our case. We want to erase the data, and we don't need a bootable flag because it's not our boot partition. And we're done setting up the partition. In the next step, we want to configure our encrypted volumes. Write changes to disk and configure encrypted volumes, yes. Create encrypted volumes. And with a space, you can select your device, and don't pick that one, that's our boot partition. And hit a tab to go to continue and then press enter. Now we need to say finish. Really erase the data on virtual disk 1, partition 5, yes. And now this is going to take a whole lot of time depending on the size of your hard drive. Because like it says, the installer is now overriding the disk partition with random data to prevent meta information leaks from the encrypted volume. This step may be skipped by canceling this action, albeit at the expense of a slight reduction of the quality of the encryption. Alright, now random data was written to our encrypted hard drive. And now you have to pick an encryption passphrase. And it is important to note that you can change this afterwards. Really, it's no problem. So pick your encryption passphrase. So now that we have configured our encrypted volumes, we can configure the logical volume manager. Write changes to disks and configure LVM. Yes. So first we have to create our volume group. And like we said, we call it a Bitbooger volume group. Please select the devices for the new volume group. So we take our encrypted volume and continue. And now we can create the logical volumes. And we pick our just created volume group. And let's start with root. For root, we said we want to give 25 gigabytes. Now let's continue with var. We said 10 gigabytes for var. Now we pick temp. 2 gigabytes. Now we make swap. With 10 gigabytes. And last but not least, home, the rest of the storage we have left. So now let's display the configuration details and check if everything is alright. So unallocated physical volumes is none. We have our Bitburger volume group, which uses the physical volume, which is the encrypted volume. And we have 5 logical volumes, like we wanted it. We have home, root, swap, temp, and var. Var with 10 gigabytes, temp with 2 gigabytes, swap with 10 gigabytes, root with 25 gigabytes, and home with the rest of the storage. So everything is correct, so we now say finish. And that's how it looks for now. And now we have to specify some settings. So for home, we have to say we want to pick the X4 journaling file system, and the mount point is home. Done setting up this partition. Let's go over to root. And we're done with that one. Swap. This is swap area. Done setting up. Now we go over to temp. Done setting up that one. Now we have var. And now we're done. Awesome. So let's finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Write the changes to disk. Now is the last time you can check if everything is alright. So we have home, root, swap, temp, and var, and everything's set up with the right file format. And it looks good. Write changes to disks. Yes, please. So now the base system is being installed. Your installation CD or DVD has been scanned and its label is. If you wish to scan another CD or DVD, please insert it now. Scan another one? No. A network mirror can be used to supplement the software that is included on the CD-ROM. This may also make new versions of software available. Use a network mirror. Oh, yes, please. Pick the one that is in your country. Thank God I don't use a proxy. Do you want to participate in the package usage survey? No, thanks. That one is a fun part. You now get to select your desktop environment, so pretty much how your desktop looks like. And you have GNOME, and the funny thing is that the Debian desktop environment is GNOME, so it doesn't matter if you pick both, or only that one, you will always get GNOME. And because I am crazy, I select all of them, just for fun. Let's continue. So this question you only get asked if you picked several desktop environments which use different display managers like I did. So like KDE Plasma uses SDDM by default, whereas GNOME uses GDM3. And now I am asked which one I want to select as the default display manager. And I pick SDDM. Oh, finally. If you're in a hurry, don't install all desktop environments because this just took an hour and a half. Alright, so install the Grub bootloader to the master boot record. Yes, please. Enter the device. Installation complete. Awesome. Continue. Awesome. We're now in the Grub bootloader. So let's run Debian GNU+Linux. Yeah, that was like a total disaster. I installed the whole thing and then I hit the complete button and then it just failed to boot. You just saw that funny screen with the funny symbols? Yeah. That was some bug of Word Manager. I reinstalled Debian, exact same steps, exact setup like I showed you in this video in VirtualBox, and it worked like a charm. So now, let's rock. So, like you can see now, the volume group, Bitburger volume group was not found because it's encrypted. So now please unlock the disk, SDA5 crypt. You enter your password and you hit enter, and there she goes. You only get this window if you install several desktop environments like I did, and then you can select desktop environment. So in our case, let's pick Plasma, and keyboard layout, we cannot change it yet. We enter our user password and hit enter. Congratulations! You're now an official member of the Debian GNU+Linux community. Have fun with this awesome and stable OS. Thanks for watching and see you next time!